Hey guys, I'm Tommy Schneider from Tommy's Pizzeria in Canada, and today I have Tony Gemignani and John Arena joining me.
Thank you, Tommy. Yeah, this is Tony Gemignani. I'm a 13-time world pizza champion. I love pizza. Nobody loves pizza more than me. I'm a restaurant owner that has several restaurants in California and in Las Vegas.
I'm John Arena. I'm a New York-born pizza maker. My pizzerias are in Las Vegas. I've been making pizzas since I was 13 years old, so 57 years. It's the only job I've ever had, and it's the only job I ever want to.
What are we all doing in San Francisco today?
It's Pizza, Bagel, and Beer Festival. San Francisco's Pizza, Bagel, and Beer Festival. Yep.
I'm here because I go anywhere where he's going to be.
No. I asked him to come last year. He couldn't make it. This year I told him he has to come, so I drug him out here.
That's not what really happened. What really happened is he didn't invite me last year, and I shamed him into inviting me this year. This might be my last chance to go, Tony.
If there's a pizza festival, you got to have Yoda at it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Or they call it Joda when it's half John, half Yoda. It's kind of a Joda.
How many pizza festivals have we worked together over the years, guys?
A lot, yeah. New York,
That was a good
New York,
Chicago.
Las Vegas, Chicago.
Las Vegas, L.A., San Francisco, Naples. I've been there during that festival.
Atlantic City together.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a few.
Have you been to them all?
I've been to the Bronx and I've been to Vegas. I think I came 2 or 3 times to the Vegas Pizza Festival.
I kept you up all night, and then
Yeah.
you had to come to the pizza festival.
Yeah.
Yeah. Canadian sweating in Vegas.
Always sweating, always sweating. You both have been such positive impacts in the pizza industry over the years. You know, I heard stories before that people would rip off the labels on their sauce cans because people were trying to go through their garbage cans to see what they were using. So why did you guys push to share your knowledge with everybody?
I think, first of all, you have to realize that it's futile to try to hide anything, especially in the modern era where everybody's got internet access, everybody's got an exchange of information. Pizza Expo has thousands of attendees every year. So are your secrets really that secret? And what you find, too, is that the guys that really are intent on keeping everything a secret and don't want to share anything, they don't have that much shit to share anyway. Yeah. The best person in the industry is an open book. I'm not worried about some guy down the street that's never really accomplished anything holding his secret recipe for garlic knots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think things have evolved too. You know, you look at social media, it's almost hard to hide anything. But back in the day, I mean, yeah, there was guys that you go dumpster diving, and Big Dave was the guy that was in the industry that would always talk about, checking guys' garbages, and people would do that to see what are they using and stuff. It's like, man, if you need to do that, you need to jump into another industry. It's always bothered us, I think. And yeah, I think the secret's not a big secret out there. It's just like, what's the secret in here? Who is that pizza maker, that pizzaiola, that can make a difference and look at the quality and understand it. And I think that's important, who that person is.
Most of us have a hard enough time getting the people that are standing right next to us every day to do things the way we want them to do it. So to be worried about somebody that's 100 miles away or 1,000 miles away, it's pointless. You can get so much more out of the exchange of information than you could by keeping something a secret. So why bother with it?
At what point did you guys realize that you were going to be doing pizza for your entire lives? Was there a certain moment? Was there a certain event that solidified it?
Go ahead, John.
I was born into a pizza making family, so it was never a question that I was going to work in the pizzeria because I was there from when I was 6 years old. But I think by the time I was getting out of high school, I went to college to be a filmmaker. But by the time I was getting out of high school, I kind of knew I wanted to be a pizza maker. And it was really because I saw the way the rest of the community responded to my family, to my parents, and my aunts, my uncles, my mom, my dad. The fact that everybody knew them, where the other parents just went off to work somewhere, got on a train, you don't know where they went, didn't know anything about them. But when you're a part of a pizza family, you're really part of a community.
So you were born into it.
Yeah, I was 17 years old, graduating from high school. Had no clue what I was going to do. All my friends went off to college. Was with my girlfriend at the time in our hometown. My brother had the idea of opening up a pizzeria. I went and worked there. We opened up right after I turned 18, and I fell in love with it. I don't think at the moment I didn't realize I was as in love with it, because I thought I was going to be a psychiatrist, psychologist. Thought I was going to be in fashion. I did all this stuff. Thought I was going to be tried to model. I was too short for that. I wanted to play in a band. It was like, when you get out of high school, or you're young and you just don't know what you're going to do, and some of your friends go off to, I hung around some pretty smart, a pretty smart group. They went to some amazing colleges, and I was just like, man, kind of stuck here. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, because, you're like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? I remember that customer that came in, worked at the place called Paisanos. They came in, and the register was right there. They took the order, and, I had to make it, I had to bake it, I had to finish it, and literally drop it on their table. That was kind of the pizza parlor, like, when you're, and I remember making it and watching that, customer, and there was that self-gratification that, people say, why is it so exciting? Well, when you cook for somebody and you put it in front of them, you see them eat it. John took 2 bites out of his first bite. He went to put it back. He got another bite.
Yeah.
I was excited about that when he had the first slice, because he's like, oh, I'll taste some more of that. It's very self-rewarding. So to keep getting that as you get into business, it never gets old. So my mom always smiled when she cooked. She watched us eat. As a kid, you didn't understand it. She's like, this so overjoyed with us eating, our friends coming over, feeding them leaving with food. And then now I'm all of a sudden watching John, 33 years in the business, getting a bite into it. And I'm like, he got another bite.
Yeah.
I mean, like 33 years, the same as, when I was in 1991 to what it is now. It's still exciting. We love to cook for people. We love to make people happy. And it's very self-rewarding. So, it's hard to recreate that in life in a lot of things that you do, so.
That gives you an insight into the mind of Tony Gemignani. And I've had an opportunity to work with him now for probably maybe 20 years ago for the first time.
Yeah.
And you pick up on that after a while. He's watching everything. Not like in a creepy way, sometimes a little creepy.
But
he's watching everything. He's watching to see if you take that second or third bite. He's watching the expression on your face. He's watching, if he could measure the jaw strength that you need to bite through it, he'd be measuring that too. Yeah. That's why I took that picture of those chairs over there before. We have a story about those particular chairs in this restaurant. Yeah. And it gives you an insight into how Tony just takes that extra step all the time to just make it a little better every time.
And he took 1 bite, just to let you know. He didn't get a second. Such a jerk. Never forget. Not those eyes. No, it's good. It's good. Oh, you got 1 bite.
And don't think he's not listening too.
Yeah.
He's not only watching the expression on your face, but he's listening to him. He'll run back in the kitchen now and tell the is that oven at the right temperature?
Yeah, I cooked it actually, so it's my fault.
No, you cooked it perfectly. It's so good. How do you guys stay ahead of the latest pizza trends?
I could give the easy answer, which is I just watch whatever he's doing and try to follow him, which is largely the answer. But in addition to that, I think you have to love it so much that you want to be immersed in it. That you get up every morning and you scour the news to see what's happening in the industry, to see if anything happened out there in the world that is even remotely related to what you're doing. And even when it's something that doesn't seem like it's related, your mind always goes to, how do I work this into my business? Whether it's the music that you're listening to, the colors that people are using in a shoe store window, anything that you can pull in, you'll see it with Tony all the time. He'll notice something out of the corner of his eye, and a week later you see it in his restaurant or on a social media post or in one of his classes.
And you make bread with your dad still, is that correct?
Yep.
Tell me about that.
My dad's 96 years old, so we've worked together since I was 6.
It's amazing.
He loves seeing the stuff with you and Gino.
Yeah.
Because that's what family businesses have always been about. It's about being with your family, and bringing them in. No separation between your life and your work.
Yeah. You know, the trends are interesting now versus what it was before social media. You know, you'd have to take the trips. It wasn't even in the books, really. And if you took that trip to that area, or if you were from that area, born in that area, and you understood it, then you try to recreate it in your restaurant. But I was fortunate enough to take a lot of trips, see a lot of styles, and not just at Expo, but just like literally getting into some kitchens and finding the regional ingredients to pull off those styles were another challenge, you know. And for me, I always tell guys that open up restaurants, you know, they just Googled it. I Googled it, or I saw maybe John make it in a demo, or I saw Tony do that, or I saw it on Instagram. But have you been to New York? Have you been to Joe's or John's or whatever? You know, if you're doing a New York style or Detroit style or St. Louis style, you know, have you been to Emo's? You know, I don't know. I guess I'm an old soul in that way. Like I like the personal experiences, to be able to talk to that customer and that maybe from that region, and to talk to them about like I think we talked about before, like, oh yeah, you know, what's your favorite place in New Haven? Yeah, I'm a Pepe's fan. Oh, I'm a Sally's fan. Yeah, Pepe's is cleaner oven. They vacuum it out. Sally's a little dirty. Both are great. I mean, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's that personal connection you can get with a customer that just makes it much more real than the hi and thank you very much. See you later. I think there's a big part of our business than just making great pizza. So that the trend setting, or what's the trends, what's old is new again. We always say that. Something that has been going on in Chicago for many years, or in a bar or something. Like this tavern's getting really popular right now. 20 years ago, it was a thin crust pizza. Nobody really labeled it. Maybe it was cracker thin, bar style, or tavern, with a little bit of differences between all those. So, and all of a sudden now everyone wants to do tavern. I'm going to do tavern. But, I mean, we're doing that at cornmeal pizza forever ago. So it's it's interesting to see how things come back full circle, and somebody creates it. It just catapults it, and it's insane now, right? It's just like you see a style that just takes off. And you're like, we just call it pizza in our area, and you know, yeah, well, they labeled it as Detroit pizza, and then you see other guys say, you know, it's DSP. Then you're like, oh, you know, they're not from Detroit because they're literally putting DSP on it, and even that kind of bothers me. But
in some cases, innovation is just when you forgot where you stole something from. There's a lot of stuff that's been done out there, and when you start to travel, you realize just how diverse the pizza world is.
You look at hot honey too. I mean, that's a trend. I mean, I remember beehives were getting big in San Francisco. We were one of the 15 restaurants that had it, and most of them were fine dining. Guy came around, I said, yeah, I want to extract honey.
Yeah,
sure. Like once or twice a year they do it. We pull it down from the roof. We mix Calabrian peppers in it, and that was our hot honey. This is like, you know, 15 years ago almost.
Yeah.
And you saw Roberta's kind of doing it, and some people. And then all of a sudden, there was a hot honey trend later.
Right.
There was a piping ricotta on a pizza and finishing it post-baked, not pre-baked. When did that trend happen? I remember finding a piping bag and piping it, and I don't know. It's just funny to see how things, from cup and char pepperoni.
Yeah, that was a funny one.
This was my brother and I would get cup and char pepperoni for the holidays. We'd it was more money, and we'd make the family cup and char pepperoni. 1991, 92, 93. I mean, Frank would always get it. We'd get it. We only had a 14, 16 count, you know, that when I opened up my own store, I said, I'm going to do all cup and char. Why not spend the money now for every day? I'm just going to do it. And then we were slicing it from the stick when Rosa Grande wasn't available, in its like thick pre-sliced form. So you look at trends not just in styles, but you look just ingredients, post saucing, things like that. There's a lot of things that go on, not just for the style of pizza, but just even the ingredients and toppings.
Yeah, let's talk about ingredients and toppings. How important is getting the best quality ingredients, and where do you guys think the best ingredients come from? Is it all just based on the availability, or does it have to do with the companies themselves?
Depends on the style that you're going for. A good example is I'm a Stanislaus lover. I love it. I've used it for 33 years. But I also love a San Marzano tomato. It's two different flavor profiles. I'll say get the Alta Cucina, and here get a San Marzano DOP, and yeah, this one's sweeter and maybe cheaper and is maybe a different quality, but maybe I want that earthy, slightly acidic, semi-sweet kind of old world flavor to my pizza. There's not a wrong or right. It's not a better or worse. It depends on the style that you're making. I might want this flavor profile, and in food, flavor profiles are super important. I mean, sure, do I want a mozzarella that doesn't burn easy and doesn't brown a lot? Yeah. Do I want a nice pull? Do I not want, starches and L-cysteine and things in it? Yeah, of course, that's what I'm looking for. But if I'm looking for a specific ingredient that may be for that style, it's hard to say this one's better, this one's not, because it's not necessarily true. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think especially for you, sometimes you're trying to really zero in on what the definitive Detroit pizza is, or the definitive cracker crust pizza is. So you're going to use the flour or the tomatoes that are appropriate to that.
This, yeah.
Right. But in some cases you look at it and say, well, this could be better if you're not just trying to recreate it, you're trying to do your version of it. So you have to kind of be able to define what you want your pizza to be.
What are you looking for? If a Neapolitan guy walks in from Naples and I have a Verace pizza like this, 100% authentic Neapolitan pizzeria, and he sits there and he eats it, he's like, this is good, but sauce is kind of sweet. It's not really San Marzano. Am I like, oh my God, can't believe I did that? Or this is my style, I do my twist on it. What are you looking for as a pizza operator? You may want to be 100% authentic, but at the same time, maybe you don't. So there is a little bit of authenticity, but at the same time, what are you looking for? What do you want to do? So,
right, are you recreating something, or are you carrying it forward? I always said this about Tony, that at some point there's going to be a Tony style pizza. It's going to be, it's going to be the summation of all his life experiences. And think of how amazing that will be. Because you can't. No artist wants to just go on recreating. I'm going to paint the identical Norman Rockwell painting over and over again. Nobody wants to do that. At some point, that artist wants to say, now it's mine.
Yeah, and that's the artist too. But then there's that customer that may want that authentic pizza. Like I always say, an analogy is what do you call it? A pastrami on rye. Okay. Analogy is good. A pastrami on rye. Go to New York. I want a pastrami on rye, and you get it, and it has Swiss on it, and I bite into it, and it's like delicious. I get a pastrami on rye. I'm in New York, and I get pastrami on it, and they put Monterey Jack, and I bite into it. It's delicious, but at the same time, you're like, it's not the flavor I thought. Well, Monterey Jack's better, right? Not necessarily. Well, if you eat it by itself, it's better, right? Well, maybe some people may think it, but is it what I wanted when I maybe went to Katz, or what do you want to say, and I ate it? Like, this is not really authentic. You see that a lot in Jewish delis as they grow and things like that.
Right. It's not just a matter of is it good or is it bad. It's also does it trip that memory gene in my brain. That's
what are your customers searching? You opened up this place, authentic this and that, and that guy from the Bronx or whoever comes in and he buys something, he's like, it's almost there. You get guy, and every customer's an expert, right? But you will get customers that are searching for that, and if you can't deliver it, you may have done something maybe too out of the box. It just depends on what you're looking for.
You have all these things at your disposal too, Tom. Like these. If you look at these booths, they're a perfect example of it. There was a nightclub in my neighborhood that had like booths that I swear were. It's like he lifted them out of there and put them in his place. If you're looking for that experience and you come in here, even if you get an older person that grew up going to places like that, and like right out of a Scorsese movie, you slide into this booth And the stage is already set, man.
Give me an example of a food that brings you back to your childhood or a special moment in your life. Is there any restaurants out there or any countries that you can go to that you taste the food and you go right back to when you were a kid?
Locatelli brand Romano cheese.
Oh yeah.
Because when I was like 4 years old, my grandmother used to let me go in the kitchen with her, and she had this old crank grater, and she would like bolt it to the table, and she'd put the cheese in there, and she'd let me grate the cheese. I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad, but when I taste it,
That's a memory.
Grandma.
Yeah.
Locatelli's iconic too.
Yeah,
Like,
so I know. Yeah, I know.
that's cool.
The signs were everywhere, in Little
You
Italy.
see them hanging, the large salami cheeses.
So I thought Locatelli was a type of cheese. I didn't even, when I was a little kid, I didn't even realize it was a company. I just put some Locatelli on it.
There's a type of garlic bread that it's a place called Banchero's we would go to. It was there forever, and it was that old neighborhood Italian restaurant that was giant, and they had this garlic bread that was delicious. And sometimes we'll go places. My wife and I went to had ribs the other day, and we got their garlic bread, and I bit into it. I looked at her, and she knows Banchero's too, and I looked at her and I said, "That's kind of Banchero's, huh?" And then she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy." And it took you back, and it was very humble, and my son's just gobbling it up, and I'm like, "It's good." He's like, "Yeah, it's good." I'm like, "Yeah, this reminds me of a place when I was a kid," and that was the place that you went in with your parents. It took 2 hours, but maybe it took 30 minutes. They got the little colored mints at the end of your meal. You got that kind of place. But a good red sauce kind of place. So sometimes there's garlic bread that takes me back, and lasagna, calamari, items that I would have with my dad. I have great calamari, Caesar salad, lasagna at my restaurants. I really took a lot of work into doing that, because those are the items we'd go and get when we went to Monterey, we went to San Francisco, ScoMa's, and he would get those items, and I learned to love Caesar. I learned to love calamari. And so I said, when I have a full-service restaurant one day, I got to get these right. And people say, you're the best calamari. I said, thank you. And they say, yeah, I'm on my dad. I wanted to make sure it was right. Yeah. And whenever I have Caesars and stuff like that, it reminds me of my growing up and things. So, yeah.
It's great. I love that food can do that it can.
How about you?
For me, it's I always used to go to Palm Springs with my grandparents growing up. They would go there for the winters, and there was this hot dog stand around the corner from our house, and my grandpa would always take me there. And I still go at least once a year, and I get this hot dog, and it's still the same. Literally, that's 25 years later, I don't know how they have the same hot dog. But
it's
it brings
the same hot dog.
It's not the same hot dog, but they must have the same brand or something. But I always get a hot dog. I go sit in the backyard of our place there, and cool. I just remember that moment. So you guys travel all around the world. What is the craziest place that pizza has taken you? The coolest place, the coolest experience that you guys have had?
I traveled across Thailand with Thai acrobats, pizza acrobats. We went. Did every TV show, malls, random things. So I would say that was probably pretty crazy. I got asked to be in the Italian circus when I was younger because I was an acrobat.
Yeah.
I denied. I said no, but they were traveling across Europe, and but yeah, the Thailand was cool.
Do you regret saying no to that experience?
No, I said no. I've said a no a lot. Thailand was cool. It was funny when I was there, and it was like right when I showed up, there was a guy that came out that was better than me, and I was this guy from the U.S. and I was supposed to 3-time champion, all this stuff. This kid came out, and I was like, holy shit! And then I had to do a demo after him in front of this restaurant show, 1,000 people in the audience, and I had to do really well. And I'll never forget it. So I was with this girl. Which was crazy. I was with this girl who was very young. She won the competition, and just 20-something years later, a video popped up on Instagram, and it was her. And I went, holy shit. And she's, of course, we're all older now. She's at this market in Thailand, and she's doing this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I went across the country with her. I mean, Thailand with her. I messaged her. I said, hey, you see this, tell her I said hi, and then somebody responded for her.
Yeah.
And she says, oh my God, what memories we had together and stuff. It was really cool because we spent time together, but it was very cool. Yeah, and I couldn't believe she was still tossing pizzas in a market, in some crazy Thai market. That was but yeah, I would say that.
I've made a pizza in Thailand once. They have the ovens like right there on the street, like right next to the street. And yeah, I just asked if they'd let me make a pizza, and we did. And then I made a friend, and I stay in touch with them a little bit, but
cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was called Alfredo's New York style pizza. He had a chain. He was growing, and yeah, it was very cool.
I don't think anything that I've ever done has been crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's it's all part of your life. It's so interwoven in your life that you can't separate anything that you do from pizza.
We had some great trips in Naples and down south.
Yeah.
Him and I got thrown into some pretty busy shops that, go ahead, take the pizza peel, make a pizza.
Yeah.
In Rome, where we had to do like a 3-foot long pizza, or we were somewhere else that in Naples.
Pico e Quince, yeah.
Yeah, we were in some restaurants that are like,
3-meter long pizza.
Exactly. Like where we got thrown to it. When you're in a kitchen, I don't care who you are, you're in somebody else's kitchen.
Right.
And you're standoffish. I don't care if you're Franco Pepe or, Joe Montana. It's like you're there and you're like, and you're just getting in the kitchen. Hey, this is Caputo, Antimo said, this is John and Tony from the U.S. All right, go ahead and make a pizza.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. And maybe like a 10-foot deep oven. And you're like, okay, how do you do? How do you do this? Give me a second.
Was that in Rome?
We went in Rome and in Naples. It's happened to us like 3 times, and we're like, dude, are you kidding me? And when we go to a restaurant, he's all, are you gonna get asked first, or am I? I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have you go first. They'll be, John, come here. I'm like, gosh.
He says that, but then a couple of weeks ago we're in New York and we're in the Javits Center, and he's like, I don't want to make any pizzas. And then next thing you know, he's behind the counter. He's covered in flour. There's dough flying everywhere. You see him looking at the oven, and you just see he gets this look in his eyes, and he's off and running.
We've had some fun experiences. You went to Brazil, right?
Yeah. Brazil was fun.
A pretty crazy trip with Scott Wiener and some people that went to Brazil.
So what has been the most rewarding project that you guys have worked on?
Oh. Well, there's a couple, I think.
Talk about both.
Americana was pretty interesting, but then longest was
world's longest pizza was the Guinness record. That was a cool project. We'd never do it again.
Yeah. How many hours was that?
That was bell to bell, 27 hours.
27 hours straight.
I thought it was 30, or like in the 30s. No, 27.
I think from the time that when we got there, the scaffold wasn't built. Remember, and we had to start with that.
It was hard. It was very rewarding.
It was like the Bataan death march of pizza making.
I got interviewed just recently because we opened up in Eastvale, and they were talking about Fontana. I said, I did something in Fontana. And I went, longest pizza. Oh, really? I said, yeah, it was over a mile long, and it was rewarding. But I think the Caputo Americana we developed, flew in, and you're with these Neapolitans that have been making flour for generations and generations, like over 100 years. And we're talking about American, almost New York flour, high gluten, high protein. And they really didn't necessarily kind of understand that, soft wheat, hard wheat, and we helped develop it along with a few others, Giulio Adriani, Scott Wiener, Michele.
Yeah, it was really like that little group of people worked on the initial version of that flour.
Made one with the starter, made one with the bulk ferment, one.
And that was quite a long process because they were sending us samples, and then we'd each come up with different formulas and have Mauro tweak the formula, the master formula for the flour itself. It was really fun, but I got a real insight into the difference between Tony and the mere mortal pizza makers. We were supposed to do a demo, and they had invited all this European press, mostly Italian journalists, and they have this room set up, and we get there and they hadn't pulled the dough out for us in advance, and the thing is we're scheduled to start making these pizzas, and I looked at him and said, well, I guess we're gonna have to use cold dough. Tony goes, no, we're not. He made these journalists, sit there for hours
Did I?
Yes.
No. Did I?
Yeah, it was like a 2-hour wait before he would make a pizza. It was him and Giulio, and I looked at them and I was like, that's the difference between. That's what makes Tony
Yeah, right.
compared to me, because I'd look at it and just go, well, I guess we're gonna have to use what we got and carry on. And Tony's like, no, we're not doing that. They're gonna, if we're gonna make pizzas, they're gonna be the best that we can
I
make.
got flown out there. It was, we're close to Caputo's and Fred from Orlando Foods and the whole family and stuff. And, we wanted to do it right. We wanted to, journalists can be your Neapolitans, or just Italy and Italians in general could be really tough critics. So, but we're making American pizza. So it's not, charred, chewy, wet, pillow-like. It's crispy, cooked well, then through. So there was a lot riding on us, and we wanted to really show them what it was like, because they weren't necessarily knew what it was supposed to be like.
But it's just that attention to detail, that watching you only take one bite. I'm gonna get a phone call from them later on, and they're gonna be like, what the fuck was wrong with that guy?
I took a baby bite, put it back. What the hell was that?
Why don't you guys talk about what we did in Oklahoma recently? How we got everyone together and what we did there.
Oh, the Guinness for most people eating a pizza at once.
Yeah.
Biggest pizza party
Biggest pizza party, yeah.
in the book.
And the book. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the book a little bit.
That book was, it's hard enough to rein in 2 or 3 creatives at once.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Bash did an awesome job of putting that together and really creating this cookbook that I think has 39
pizza makers, world pizza champion, team members, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really comprehensive and really a labor of love. But to round all those people up and get them in one place at one time, it's hard enough to get 3 or 4 of us together for more than an hour. But to commit that kind of time, it's really special.
So we had everybody meet in Andolini's, one of his pizzerias in Tulsa, and everybody flew in almost on the same day, but some were kind of scattered. And then for us to do a photo shoot and recreate the pizza that's supposed to be in the book, and the photographer there and the videographer there, and all the ovens that had to be for that specific pizza. It was a uni, a wood-fired, an electric ovens, and it was a lot. The right tools, grabbing the pizza with, that were a sponsor of the book. Or there was a lot of
Laura had to bring her garbage pail.
Laura was a big part of it. I think Nicole helped out a lot, and Nick. I mean, everybody. Scott Anthony. But it wasn't easy, and it's an amazing book, The Pursuit of Pizza. There's some great dough recipes in it. There's amazing pizzas in it, and there's a lot of different styles of pizza in it. So the cool thing about this was this QR code that, you get written books before, and you're trying to teach somebody how to toss a pizza. Hold it here at chest level. Put your hand out, and then it's the hardest thing to be able to teach someone. And a lot of people like to see it to understand it. So we have a QR code if you want to learn how to push out a Sicilian or cut a Roman or ball dough or things like that, how to do a fold in bread. It teaches you. So that right there is pretty special. People may say, it's a pretty expensive book. I'm like, yeah, well, it took a lot of money to publish this, and the photos are beautiful, but the videography on it to show you these QR codes are like no other book, at least when it comes to cookbooks, especially in the pizza industry.
So you guys are definitely my mentors, and you're mentors to so many other people in the pizza world. What drew you to the Chris Decker, to the Laura, and the Tiagos? What in them made you want to invest your time in them?
I think that's a lengthy apprenticeship, to kind of start to build that relationship. Tony's probably had thousands of employees. I've had thousands of employees. Sometimes somebody just comes along that has that, they have it in them to really be great and to really make the industry better. We always talk about being independent restaurateurs, but we're not independent, we're interdependent. because we're all depending on each other to push ourselves forward, to make each other better. You can't spend 10 minutes with Tony without having a desire to be better yourself. You see what he does, and not everybody's going to be Tony Gemignani, but you can be better than you are right now. And once you make up your mind that you have that responsibility to your craft, the only way to nurture that and further it is to do the same thing for somebody else. It's not always about currency. It's about legacy too. What are you going to leave behind? Are you going to make what you've given your life to better for the next person that comes along? Are you going to leave something that's meaningful, that's going to resonate with people, so that another generation of people will come through your restaurant and have that same feeling, feel that love that they felt when they came to you? Tony may retire someday and just collect classic cars, or be in a rock and roll band, or go back to being a fashion model. But when he does that,
It's getting shorter.
when he does that, he wants to make sure, like all good farmers, you're planting fields that you may never see the harvest from, but somebody will.
What John says is totally true. There's not that many of them that walk in the door. Sure, we've had amazing employees over the years, but there's the ones that are they gifted? Do they just want to learn and are willing to learn and listen? And so you do get those Chris Deckers and Laura Myers. When you have them, it's something pretty special. Does it feel like a son or daughter that you're working with, teaching? Yeah, and there's times that we may argue like a son and daughter, or a brother and sister, or dad and son. So it's seeing them grow, and from being 15, 16 years old to being in their 30s and moving on and opening up a place. It's exciting. It's rewarding. It feels like your son or daughter's kind of leaving, but you're so proud of them. You don't want them to make a mistake, do something wrong. We've learned the hard way. I think I know I always say we're from the school of hard knocks. I didn't have that many people I can go to. Lost a lot of money, made a lot of stupid decisions. Just did dumb things. Weren't the best businessmen. Had to hire in those categories to be better. But everyone says, hey, I can make great pizza. I can just go off and open up a restaurant. There's just so much more than that. And so many restaurants fail, and so many people fail and lose all their money. So having a son or daughter or brother or sister leave you and go off, you're just like, God, I hope they make it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, because you know how hard it is. When you pay the bills, or you got to put money in to pay rent, or to be able to handle your next payroll or pay sales tax, it's like, we've been through all that, and it's not good to bring home. And I've had a lot of stomach aches and headaches that I sometimes detour maybe my son to get into, because I'm like, it's a tough job. I love it. But do I look at my phone every day and be like, oh my God, what happened? I get up in the morning, sucks, but I got a text message that this happened, or it might be a day that nothing, and it's like the best day in the world.
And then you realize that your phone was off.
Yeah. Damn it. But there's a lot to it. I mean, like that question, right? I mean, there's so much.
When you're mentoring people, like when you're raising children, I'm sure you want to protect them, and sometimes you can overprotect them too.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be exposed to the hardships that you felt. But if you protect them too much, they don't get to grow up to be everything that they can be too. So there's that part of you that wants to protect them, that part of you that wants to help them to grow, and you have to kind of balance those things out. To be a good mentor, you can't spoon feed them either. You got to have good judgment of when to step back. You're always waiting there to catch them, but you don't want to be quite as visible.
They become your partner and your sidekick. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Batman and Robin, or whatever you want to say, that duo. I mean, Laura and I had a lot of great trips together. She was my sidekick. She was my best friend, my pal.
Yeah.
We crashed the hotel, made dough. I'm like, went off, did that. Yeah. We traveled the world. So losing that companion is also sucks. I mean, she's not going to be there the next day I go into work. Tiago's gone. Matt Molina left. Audrey moved away. Audrey was like my other sidekick. She's freaking amazing. You start losing, employees like that. They're just such a big part of your restaurant or restaurant group. I mean, just such a big part of it. I mean, there's a little bit of soul that you lost, and you have to try and recreate that. And now, I have Oscar. I introduced you to Oscar, and he's a badass. He's great. We haven't gone on many trips together and stuff, but I try to include him as much as I can. And the chef Anthony's out there. They can do everything. They're faster and probably better than me. I like that. I just, but it's hard to replace them. I don't think anybody ever replaces them. We just find somebody else that really can make them special and great, make them feel important too, like they have value in a company. Sometimes people say, I'm the only owner, this is what I do, and they don't feel like you could be valuable to a company or you can. Come with me, join me. What John says, it's not about me, it's about we. Now we say my success is your success. If you hear those two statements, or whatever you want to call it, there's a reason why we say that.
A lot of it is timing too, Tom. It's when do you cross paths has a lot to do with it. You meet Laura at just the right time in your own personal development where you're ready to have that kind of relationship with somebody. Later on, 20 years later, you're in a different place also. They're in a different place. If you meet them too soon, too late, they have to be receptive, and you also have to be in that space in your own head where you're looking to kind of have that relationship with somebody. You get to be old and grouchy like me. You don't want to be anywhere near anybody. You just push it. You had asked a question before. I don't know if we ever got to it about what was the most gratifying thing you ever did. For me, the most gratifying thing I've done so far has been to see Chris. To see Chris Decker open up a place that's largely his vision, to be able to be part of that and help him to find the resources to build a place that is largely an expression of his sensibilities and his life experience and things that he's learned and valued. To see that happen and see it met with the kind of response that it's had, there's nothing better than that, man.
It's amazing. It's his time to shine, right? You guys, it's their time to shine now, and you guys get to watch them, and that's an amazing experience, right?
Yeah, that's been pretty amazing seeing Laura and Audrey and them do well. My son, actually, Gino, wanting to make pizzas. I didn't push him to do it. Asked him, hey, you want to toss pizzas with me? I'm doing a festival. Sure, yeah. Pa. Boom, boom, boom. Just does his thing. I do my thing. And you want to go make pizzas? Like when he said that to me, I'm like, yeah, really? Oh yeah, can I go with you to work? I'm like, yeah, of course. Him coming to work and now just going to work with his wife. My wife is taking him. I don't have to be there. He's only 9.5. They have a little step stool for him. They pull it out. He goes up. He sauces and he cheeses, and he does this thing for 3 hours. Comes home, says, "Hey, how much do I make today?" Yeah. He'll forget that. I'll be $40 good. He's like, "Yeah, that's all right." That's pretty much what he does. Oh, $50? Yeah. Okay. I'm like, well, you know what? So that's pretty gratifying. It's nothing. It's not really necessarily anything I did. It's what he did, or decided to do. Yeah. So that's been another layer. That's been pretty amazing.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone wanting to open a pizzeria, what would it be?
Work in a pizzeria. I had a school for 15 years, and I had a lot of students that never worked in a pizzeria. Wanted to go to school, which I had, and then go off and build a pizzeria and open it. I'm like, have you ever worked in a pizzeria? No. What do you do? I'm a real estate broker. I'm an eye doctor. I'm whatever. I just want to do it. But it's like this passion, which is good to have the passion, excitement, all that. But at the same time, you're like, what if you don't like it? What if you invest all this money in it and it just doesn't work? I think it's important to work at a pizzeria to see if you like it. In a restaurant business, I mean, there's so much more than just making that. This right here. There's so much that goes into it. I would always tell the students that have never worked in a restaurant before, you should try working in a restaurant. I mean, that's one piece of advice out of the hundreds of pieces of advice I would give them. But that's one thing for sure. See if you even like it.
The first thing I tell people is throw away your clock and throw away your calendar. Because if you're worried about how many hours you put in and how many days you worked in a row, this is not the business for you. Doesn't mean you have a character flaw. It just means it's not for you, because the people that really love it, they're not counting the hours. They're making the hours count.
What do you think the secret ingredient is to a good pizza?
For me, the great pizza is a pizza that tells me something about the person that made it and the place that it's being made.
I always say food in general, pizza is always about balance. 2 to 3, maybe 4 different flavor profiles. Each bite should take you through a journey. I always say that's very important. It's not about over-complex dough or an over-complex ingredient. It's about marrying the 2 or 3 together to make it right. And it's important to understand that, because sometimes people are looking for the ultimate starter, the ultimate, sourdough. What do you think of my sourdough? I'll never forget about a writer that came in, and a writer came when I opened up Pizza Rock in Las Vegas, and he said, he was done eating. He said, I didn't expect this. I said, what? He's all, I thought your starter would have been way more, stronger, because you're from San Francisco. I was very surprised at this. I said, how was the pizza? He's all, it was one of the best pizzas I've ever had in my life. I said, so do I want you to remember me for my starter? Do I want you to remember me for my pizza? Mm-hmm. He looked at me like, so it's one of those things. Oh, they're remembering me for my pizza, so I kind of got him, so it was good.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Well, hey, guys, I appreciate your time. You guys are so busy. I thought this was really great, and I'm looking forward to the pizza festival coming up.
Looking forward to it, man. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Sean.